Hey guys, it's Kelly. Hey, it's kind of late. My kids are sleeping, so I got to keep my voice down a little bit. But this is a quick card that I made. Actually, it wasn't quick. I cut a lot out. But I used pink paisley paper, the Butterfly Garden Collection. I love this paper. But I made a card for a very, very special someone to thank them for a wonderful thing that they did for me recently. And a new friend of mine. So I thought I would record it as I go, and I spared you guys a lot of the inking and things like that, but I haven't done a card tutorial, I don't think ever. I don't think I've ever recorded any of the cards that I've made. I haven't made any for a while, so I thought I would share. So, that paper, like I said, the pink paisley butterfly garden is so, so, so gorgeous. And I have a hard time working with green. It's a challenge for me, and because of who's getting this card, I kind of challenge myself to work with something that I'm not usually comfortable with. So, and it wound up turning out pretty nice. So I think that she will like it. So I'm just inking the edges with some vintage photo distress ink, and I spared you all of the inking around the edges with the vintage photo and the peeled paint. So I did peeled paint on the actual white card, and then the peeled paint was a little too green, so I went back in with vintage photo and softened it up, give it that vintage look. So, and then I just used my ATG gun to adhere that piece to the card itself. And I had inked the inside, the back of it, and all around it, but I spared you guys that. You don't need to sit and watch me do that. You know, with the blending tool, you guys know how to do that. So here, that's a little piece of vellum paper that I had inked and I had in my stash, and I inked it with, you know what guys, I'm sorry, I can't even remember. I think it's peeled paint and water, but I'm not real sure. It might have been the stain, I'm not sure. But it's just vellum paper, and I stamped just a sentiment says thank you with the rich cocoa memento, and then it was a little too light, so then I wound up using the black memento ink. And kind of throughout the video I went back and forth, you know, figuring out which one I wanted, because again, I haven't made this card before. I had an idea of the color that I wanted to use and the paper line I wanted to use, and that's as far as I went. I didn't have a plan. I just play with it, and whatever happens, happens. That's how I roll. But I got some organza ribbon, and it's right along the same shades of green, and kind of placed them on there and was playing with them, and they kept curling up on me. They're Kaisercraft organza ribbon, and they kept curling up, and oh my gosh, I went through so many flowers, and I spared you guys all the hem and han over, you know, and you guys probably do this a lot too, where you put about 500 different flowers on a project before you learn which one you're going to use. And I made some, you know, decisions in here that I kept in the video, if I remember right. I didn't cut that out, and I'll share that with you. But my ribbon kept curling up, so I taped it down while I was figuring out my layout for the card and how I wanted to do it. So I was just playing with those flowers, and you know, I actually wound up not using those flowers. They're a little too big for the card, and I think that's what was wrong. But I went back and forth and back and forth, and then still trying to use that white flower. I think it's a Prima flower. Inked it up with some vintage photo, trying to make it, you know, a little softer. Mess with that flower for the longest time. And when the vintage photo wasn't enough, I actually added some green to it. And, well, maybe I don't do that yet. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I'm still trying to put green in the flower. And those are the Prima flower centers. Say it with pearls. I love those. Those are just gorgeous. You can't go wrong with those. But the flower just wasn't cutting it. And then I thought, you know what, maybe it needs some green. So I got my water brush out and tried to add some green to it. And painted some green in there. Well, didn't paint, but inked it with my water brush. And I spared you some of that. and just shows you the end result. And there it is with some green in it, and I actually wound up not liking it at all. Not happy with that. And that one right there is the one I wind up using. I just put some vintage photo on there. It has some nice shades in it that go with the paper. So it kind of has like a yellowish, well, not a yellowish, but like a soft rosy color to it. And it went nice. And then that's a brown flower, paper flower, that's kind of rosy brown. And that winds up being the flower that I wind up putting on there. Thinking fingers when I'm tapping like that. Those are, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then the paper was still a little bit too boring in the background. So that's my favorite stamp, is just some text. So I just put some vintage photo on there because I wanted it really, really soft in the background. And that wound up being just gorgeous. It was exactly what it needed. But before I put it down, the stamp was going to go over the paper, and I didn't want it to show on the card. So I covered up the edges with some scrap paper there just to make sure it didn't stamp on the card part, because I wanted it only to show on that piece of paper that I had put on the top. And that was perfect. That was exactly what it needed. So very, very subtle. You can hardly even see it in the video, but maybe in the still pictures you'll be able to see it really well. So still messing with my ribbons taped down because I wasn't completely sure how I was going to do that. And then just with some extra ink, you can hardly even see it, but I didn't even re-ink that stamp. I just put it right on that vellum and it softened it up. It made it blend real nicely with the background. So I'm just making it a little smaller, a little bit too big, and then re-inking it wherever I tear it off. Maybe I shouldn't call this a tutorial, it's a card in progress, but I don't know, you can learn from it, I guess, if you're new. Nothing extravagant in here. I tried that ribbon and threw it away really quick because that was definitely not going to go. I think we all do that. Just lay it down and go, what was I thinking, as soon as you see it down there. So still messing with where I'm going to size that, put that ribbon. I know I wanted it to be in like that X form, but I wasn't quite sure where I was going to put it. So in here I just take the ribbon and I tested it out because I wasn't sure if I used the ATG gun if you were going to be able to see the glue through the ribbon because it's so sheer, and you can't. It's actually perfect. So you just throw some it's definitely better than putting on, you know, liquid glue on there. So just slap some of that on there and then it stays down perfectly in a card. I thought it worked really nice. But I was a little concerned at first, so I had to test it on a small piece, put a little glue on there, and then put it on the paper just to see if you could see it through, and you can't see it all. So, and then I left the edges of that paper on top. It's loose at the ends because I knew I was going to put ribbon around it, but it also gave it just a little bit of dimension just to lift up where I distressed it on the edges. So I just cut what I didn't need and folded it over, and it stuck down. Pretty simple. So, and I'm trying to get those little, what do you call those, baby's breath or something, I don't know, little bally thingies. I was chasing those around. They're slippery little suckers. They were not cooperating. But I knew I wanted it to come at the top and the bottom of the flower, so just a little hint of like off-white in there was kind of needed because there's some white in that paper, but it's subtle. So see, they're slippery little suckers. They're going all over the place. So I had to get my glue gun turned on, so I stopped the video for a second there. And then this is funny. This is Boo Boo I put in there. I thought, oh, that's perfect size for a glue dot. So I got my glue dots, my large glue dot, and I put it on there. Well, it's a paper flower, so guess what happened? The glue dot just took the paper and just fell right off. It stuck to my finger. Look at that. Bad idea. Definitely got to use hot glue for that, or any other kind of adhesive. But glue dots, don't use them on those paper flowers. If you didn't already know that. It's like putting glue on dust or sand. There I am fighting with those little slippery little suckers again. Didn't want to stay put. And just a little bit of glue. Because this is going to be a card I'm going to mail out, and I can't have too much dimension because, oh my gosh, I could have gone crazy with some of the wild orchid craft flowers that I have that I just love and adore. But it needed to be flat, so I needed to use, well, not flat, but need to be mailable. And the wild orchid craft flowers, well, maybe you don't know, but the wild orchid craft flowers are pretty bulky. But that little brown one is a wild orchid craft flower that I got from them too. So they have paper ones too. I love their products. Get my glue strings off my card. I threw a little tantrum with the glue string spiderweb feel there. Shaking my hands trying to get it off. My little vellum sentiment needed just a little bit more definition on the card. Added a little bit more ink at the end and just used my ATG gun just to glue it down. And it's coming together kind of nice. I'm kind of happy with that layout. I think it's real soft and pretty and vintagey looking. And that is a jelly roll pen, and it's the Clear Star. It just adds just the right amount of sparkle, not too much. And I spared you watching me draw all over. That's a bird cage hanging, and I just highlighted it with the Clear Star jelly roll pen. And then I also went over the sentiment with it. And it's it's not a sparkly kind of card, and it's not the style. So that was just the perfect amount of little extra. And then my ribbon it needed to be highlighted, and I left another boo-boo in here, something that I tried that doesn't work. I think it's important to leave those in tutorials. Just try something. If you don't like it, try something else. So this, I just thought, I needed to highlight with Vintage Photo along the ribbon, and I went under the flower and used a Q-tip to do it, and realized that that was not going to work. But I used it under the flower so that you wouldn't see if I didn't like it. And I wound up just using the very edge, just angling that sponge just right with the ink, just to hit the edges of the ribbon and the paper where it was at, and it just needed to be highlighted a little bit. And it's a real subtle difference, but I really like it. I think it was worth it. Just carefully angling that in there just right, and it just kind of highlighted the ribbon a little bit. So I like how that worked out. And there it is. And there's that shimmer, just the right amount of shimmer. And there's the back of it. Inside, I didn't put anything in there at the end of the video, but I did later. So golf clap. And here's some still pictures. I thought it turned out really pretty. You can see that stamp a little bit better, because you're kind of far away with the video. And that center bling is so pretty. Those Prima center Say It With Pearls. And that's the paper that I used on the inside. So thanks for watching, guys, and I hope that you learned something and someone was inspired by watching this. Thanks.